Hey y'all, Monk Joseph here with the last video of the day. Moving right on to polytheism is not what you think. So I grew up Judeo-Christian in a very pretty serious born-again situation, born-again Christian situation. I've obviously taken a hard turn in Gnostic Christianity because I have much faith in what I've understood in the scriptures, and I'm not to saying that there's not other things that are happening for born again Christians. It's not for me to say I know something or don't know something, or my theories don't really matter. That's your path to salvation. Mine is through knowledge, as all Gnostic Christians, and more specifically, a lot of people don't know this about Gnostic Christians, but martyrdom is our salvation. So I have to try to spread compassion and truth until somebody murders me for it. It's not exactly, it doesn't sound like a good choice when I say it out loud like that sometimes. But I've always been like this as long as I can remember since I was like 10 and 11. So it's not like all I did was realize that I was with the wrong group because I was like that. Um, yeah. All right. So coming out of that background, and I'm making this video because a lot of people are in these situations where they're scared to look at various things because they're afraid that it's polytheism. So I'm here to tell you that polytheism is not polytheism. There is some groups that do deify the beings, but if you go back far enough, there's really not a lot of deification to these things. So let's go back. We'll start in the back and work our way up the best we can. So let's start with Hinduism. That's probably the most like deity abundant religion that people know of, and a lot of times with their deities, you got to understand that there's the cosmological aspect, and then there is the I want to call it the post Mahabharata aspect, right? Because you have in ancient times this understanding of Amashakta, if we're talking Hinduism, because you have pure energy and that spawned into physical existence, um, and then the experience of that existence is another entity. And if you get into that, it's Shakti means energy or power. They got identified as feminine, but I'm not getting into that. And then you have the had the desire to create, got the knowledge, and took action. And then you have physical existence, or Shiva, if you will. Um, Specifically, I actually lean more towards the Narayana side for personal reasons. And then, of course, you have the esoteric experience of being human and esoteric knowledge, and that is what Ganesh represents in those settings, right? Um, so that is the basic fundamental cosmological understanding of what you're experiencing. And you could even take it to a Western sense and say an unknown power source fueling the quantum state to the macro state, because it's inside to out. It's exactly what you're experiencing in real time, right? So, but then post Mahabharata, you have all these stories of what the deities did and how they're just like us, and all these stories and things they did that were just like us, and how to deal with them. And look at when it was written. Like it was written by humans for reasons that have nothing to do with the cosmological or functional understanding of existence. If it helps people, like one of the 84,000 ways of enlightenment, like I bless, all blessings be to you. But for me personally, it's healthier to stick to the cosmological aspects because you have to go down to the beginning to be able to understand those other things. Not to say there's not a lot of good lessons in there. I'm just saying, in my experience, when I go to a Hindu temple, I'm doing my cosmological thing. And also as a, I'm going to double back to the Judeo-Christian thing, right? Because that's where a lot of people are going to come from with their issues of polytheism. And, you know, let's be realistic. King Solomon, son of David, remember the guy who killed Goliath, used hordes of demons to do God's work and spread the truth. And it is a commonly known fact in our culture. So I think it's interesting that, nobody has a problem with King Solomon using hordes of the four directions of all kinds of demons. But if you say that you have a friend who's of a different religion helping you on your walk, you're just like, you're going to hell. And I think it's insane. It's just ignorant people trying to maintain ignorance without opening a book and proving themselves right or wrong. It is what it is. It's part of our world. We have to live with it. So just deal with it. Um, but yeah, and I'm not even going that far. But I just wanted to point that out. And also, you have like the Templar Knights supposedly worked with Asmodeus. And then of course you have angel slash demons that work for God, like Abaddon. Um, yeah. So anyway, it does occur in the Judeo-Christian stuff. It just doesn't happen that much. And if you get into the Gnostic books, there's all kinds of other spirits and stuff spreading the good word that does coincide with the Gnostic and some of the born again scripture. All right. So we've covered Hinduism. Now let's get into Buddhism. So Buddhism doesn't talk at all about a creator deity. If you ask, they'll say you're asking it because you're suffering, and I'm more concerned that you are suffering right now than I am about the reason the reason you're suffering is because you're here and because you desire, eternity or information, and that's what they want to help you. They want to help you not suffer. They can't answer a question that nobody can answer definitively, but they can definitively answer the human stuff, and that's what Buddhism is. They're considered a non Tibetan Buddhism is considered non-theist. So you can't say that there's all these gods or creator gods. None of them said they are God. They don't even believe that any type of God or being exists. I am one of the few, as a self-realized Dzogchen practitioner, I'm one of the few who sees this existence as a whole, and I can see the Nirvana Samsara paradox teaching us. So I do see. I mean, the only difference between me and most Christians is that I believe in the help offered by these spirits. I mean, we are all suffering, whether you believe or don't believe. Um, Everybody seems to be heading for the same goal, and there's nothing wrong with working together with friends. Nowhere in the Bible does it say don't take friends that are from other religions that you can't see. It says don't put exact idols in front of you. And to be honest with you, I have serious issue with that, because if all it is that can't be understood is everywhere in anything, wouldn't it be impossible to pray to anything except for it if you have that knowledge? Because I mean, you can do the thing, but it's part of the thing, so you're not really praying to the thing, no matter how much you want to believe you are. So there's that too. There's all kinds of holes in that theory of polytheism and its correlations to Judeo-Christianity. So again, it's my core background, and I know it's a major issue with people trying to understand polytheism or even look into it, and that's what it is. And when you get into it's good to cross these things and understand it, because then you realize things like Vajrapani in Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism is almost identical to Abaddon in Judeo-Christianity. Um, yeah, and then of course you get to see some of the other names identified by their cultures of these things as you're studying them and tracing them through time. I'm trying to think of some of the more interesting issues I've dealt with this. Yeah, and fundamentally, if you ever understand that all beings look the same on a consciousness level, um, it kind of gets rid of all the different possibilities of what other beings are. Yes, you may see that, but they are really that same thing that you are. Just like when you look at another human, you may see that, but you're really looking at an identical reflection, just showing a different reflection. If that makes any sense. Um, so you have it. I have a huge issue with people thinking that they understand, and even if you go into Shaktiism, this is my favorite one, right? Because in Shaktiism, you study 32 goddesses or something, but they make it very clear that you're trying to understand one thing, all that is that can't be understood. They separate the personality into 32 different aspects of life, personality, and existence, and then they say when you can understand all those things are one, then you're ready to understand the one. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't understand that, I'm telling you right now, that's what it is. I'm a Shakta. I studied these things. I do these things. I have a specific prayer that I use and a ritual that I made up to be able to identify that. So I have my own branded Shakta ritual that I use to identify that they are one thing. It's really, if you have a good ritual or a good mantra, it's not that hard. But I mean, to do it intellectually is not possible. I mean, in my opinion, it's not possible. Um, so there you have it. So you have the oldest version. I should have started there with the Shaktism of the 32 goddesses, trying to define one, all that is that can't be understood, into Hinduism that has the cosmological understanding of what you're experiencing, both seen and unseen. And then Buddhism has your whole team of buddies and stuff that will try to help you figure this out and will guide you. Um, yeah, I will say to people at ending this video, as I end the video, be careful thinking you want to know the truth, because you may get halfway or all the way there and realize you wish you hadn't. So that is a reality of delving into the enlightenment or Buddhism path, the way to awaken to anything that you're trying to awaken to. That would be one of the main hiccups or misunderstandings also that I would want to share with people. So there is nothing wrong. If you were studying Shaktism, you were studying a independent single monotheistic religion that is trying to explain to you how to understand it. If you're studying Hinduism on a cosmological sense, you are understanding the three different separate aspects of human existence, and then you have to understand that it's one, right? And then Buddhism is just a team. We're all inside this thing, and it's all inside of us making it happen. So, it's more just identifying the other pieces of the logos, or educational simulation, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it's very interesting to me that with all this life and things like Earth, Prithvi, if you will, in Sanskrit, we have these very short, fragile lives, and we put such a supreme standing on our sentience and intelligence, and then you have something that we know is in a way that we can't understand alive, and has all kinds of properties that we don't understand, but for some reason the human mind will not let us believe that it is sentient. I mean, I even had a really hard time with it. If you walk around singing like the Prithvi Gayatri mantra while you're walking on Earth, you can kind of get it better that way. But it's really, really hard, even somebody who studies these things, to understand. So, again, there's nothing wrong with taking friends that are going to help you see the truth and help you on your path. Again, I am a Gnostic Christian, so I mean, I take these steps, and sometimes I have a hard time, and sometimes God can't talk to us. God just can't talk to us directly. So, there's just you're in a hodgepodge of information or false information, and people trying to make heads or tails of it and get out. And if we work together, we can do it. But yeah, it's been really beneficial for me to study polytheism as a Christian. Actually, true story, my diving into polytheism ended. I mean, I found Vajrapani quick, but I mean, Vajrapani took my hand and led me right back to Yeshua. Jesus, for those of you who don't know, Yeshua is his real name. So, I mean, and this is something that, I didn't see physically happen in real time. This is my depiction of my experience going from Tibetan Buddhism to in and out of my studies and just trying to really make heads or tails of everything. So it's really wild. I mean, I will be honest, I broke down and cried a little bit when I realized what was happening, when I realized, you know, you're in this hell-like state, this scary being comes to give you a hand, and next thing you know, he's putting your hand in the hand of somebody you know, and you're like, what the heck? So I can articulate this further some other way, but I will never shame any of my friends, any of my so-called polytheistic deity friends. They're my friends. We've all, they're going to do their thing for humanity. I'm going to do my thing for humanity. How can I shame Vajrapani? Here's one for the Christians. I will end on this specifically. How can Vajrapani be anti-Christian when he is the only reason I am back in full grabbing of Yeshua and everything that it entails and embracing it fully? Vajrapani brought me there, so it is what it is, or Abaddon. But I mean, it makes sense if you cross study, because then it's like, oh, the employee Abaddon of this thing came and took me back. So it makes perfect sense if you guys really get into it. It's not as bad and dark as everybody says it is. You're not going to go to hell if you research things that, God is in everything, around everything, then that includes your research. So, all right. But I got to go. So peace and blessings. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video.